Hello, and welcome back to Uncommon Sense Life. This is my video diary to help me track the impacts of my MS and its progression and the influence it has on my executive function. So I go back and watch these videos and see what is or what isn't going wrong with my thinking and behavior. So please bear with me. So today I wanted to speak about right to repair. Well, it's been a kind of a telling subject in a number of states. There's a few class action lawsuits, and the assumption is that when you buy something, you should have the right to repair it when it breaks. And I agree, for the most part. Not everything, though, is repairable. Welcome to our disposable lives. And today, engineers are designed or tasked with finding a way to simplify the assembly process and reduce the number of components and reduce the number of people and or robots required to assemble these components. So they go to a number of snap fit bodies or one-time applied bodies or components so that you don't need hardware. You snap them together and they are intended to never come apart. And if you do, you're going to destroy the plastic. So when you try to break into something or disassemble it, you are going to completely destroy the housing that's in there. And other components such as, let's say, even cell phones. People want a rating for weather protection or dust and water. The minute you crack these cases open, I don't know of any aftermarket repair testing or assembly that's been tested to then give you back that same rating. So you may buy the original component and then send it off to a third-party shop or attempt to repair it yourself, such as simply as replacing the battery, and it's no longer waterproof or water resistant or dust resistant, and you end up having more problems in the future because you no longer have an OEM quality assembly. So what do? Well, sorry, you can attempt, but you got to know that there are limitations, and then there's cost. When you look at right to repair, a lot of these systems, a lot of these components, to send them back to the original manufacturer or to a dealer and have them repaired is extremely costly. So people try to find third parties or themselves and use YouTube or someone else who hammered through and attempted to make a repair and maybe was successful, and so they made a video about it and everyone else follows the step and says, well, I can do that. Or you have third-party shops where very, very talented people are working there. They may or may not have worked for dealerships or OEM repair shops and decided that they can do it cheaper because it costs a lot of money. Look at car dealers, repair shops. You can range anywhere between $90 and $190 an hour at your local Ford dealer, because that's what they can back charge for warranty repairs. So guess what? If they can get the OEMs to give them that kind of money, they're going to expect you and me to pay that same amount of money when it's not under warranty. Because they want that warranty money, that's what they're going to charge. Not that it's wrong, not that it's right, it's the capital system that we live in today. They set the rates. But again, that's because these systems have become more complicated. I'll go back to large agricultural equipment. I used to work in a number of industries. Those are, you've got computers that are talking and driving other computers. And the crazy thing is now is you can blame our governments across the world for emissions, emission control systems. Those are now have to be covered under warranty for a vast number of years. So to have a third-party shop or you attempting to repair something that may adversely affect your emissions, now leaving the original manufacturer liable, because that's who the governments go back after. They don't go back after you or that third-party shop when your diesel tractor is belching black smoke because you decided to eliminate a system or didn't properly repair a system, and you no longer now meet emission control. In some parts of the world, simple things like turn signals, the operator must be notified when the bulb on their turn signal is out for safety reasons, and I get it. But how do you do that? You can't just have a simple bulb. So you have to have a circuit, and that circuit has to have an individual identification. These systems have gotten smarter and smarter. It used to be even like O2 sensors. When there was one, and you got a code reading a bad O2 sensor, you knew which one to do it. And then some cars got into having 4 O2 sensors for their emissions, but they weren't identified. So when you threw an error code that you had a bad O2 sensor, you had to search one of your 4 and determine which one of these, or you just replaced all 4 of these at several $100s a piece in hopes that, hey, it rectified the problem. So they've gotten smarter to help people save money by putting in serialization on these components and identifying exactly which O2 sensor. But to do that, you need software. That software needs to read the serialization, know where that serialized part is, and give the feedback. So if you have a serialized turn signal and the bulb burns out, you know which bulb to replace. But when the whole unit goes out, that serialized system, the computer needs to be reprogrammed to identify the new serialized component. It's not that simple. Now you're having to get in and break into and reconfigure the serialization. So again, these systems get more and more complicated all the time. Whether it be an OEM's attempt to get more money, because service parts make them a lot of money, period. When they sell parts through dealers at OEM prices at full retail, that's a lot of money. When you take a car and you add up all the individual components, it used to be as much as 4 times as much in cost just for individual components than the original car that you bought. There's a lot of money in service parts. But again, you can buy the parts, it makes them a lot of money, but ultimately, if you have a weatherproof or a water resistant and rating and you no longer have that, was it worth the savings? When you have an emission system that has gone awry or a component that's gone awry, and you can't reprogram the serialization that some countries require so that you can quickly identify when your bulb is burned out or your emission system is having problems, how? It's not that easy. These dealerships have to maintain tens of thousands of dollars. In ag, they'll have the componentry at the dealer, but a lot of them also have service trucks. They have to go out to the field. That means that $50,000 diagnostic equipment, they got to have multiple of them on multiple trucks, because you can't have just one and need one 200 miles away at a different farm. So it's very costly for these dealers to be in business, and it sucks as the end user who has to pay for reliable service and guaranteed service. Now, that doesn't mean that you or a third-party repair shop is incapable. So, what's the answer? Possibly a certified third-party program. ASE puts it out for auto mechanics. There's a number of third-party certifications for different But maybe that the manufacturers help develop a third-party certification program, and then sell the equipment and maintain that chain and liability and ultimately some IP, intellectual property. But, once you've sold something, that gets out relatively quick. But ultimately, if you have to take a third party and put them through the same rigors and cost as a dealer so that you get dealer quality repairs and level of service and level of parts, you're going to pay nearly dealer cost. Now, the availability now goes up. And that is beneficial, especially for farmers and automobile repair. When, if you're standing in line and you have to wait, it sucks, especially in ag. You don't have time to wait. There generally isn't a backed-up combine or tractor waiting in the wings when you're spending $500,000 on this piece of equipment. So, time is of the essence for many farms and businesses that utilize this equipment. But you and me as general public, when our cell phones take a crap, our vacuum cleaners take a crap, dishwashers, washing machines, automobiles, we generally can find the time and live with the inconvenience. Now, it's whether or not you want to pay the cost. That's what it boils down to. So, right to repair. Yes, it would be great if every system was capable of being repaired. Gone are the days when you can repair a car with a timing light, a sun oscilloscope, a screwdriver, and a 9/16 wrench. Those days are gone, unless you still own a 1960s vintage vehicle. So, it's costly, it's inconvenient, and sometimes it is heartbreaking when you have a piece of equipment that you vitally need, you can't get repaired because you're in line with everyone else if you want it done properly. So, right to repair, live with it or fight for it. It's your choice. Just know it's not always the OEMs that are at fault. It's sometimes the governments that have pushed them into these corners. Doesn't mean they can't develop a better mousetrap and give us something that is a bit more compartmentalized so that you can narrow up and not have to break into some of their IP. But in doing so, the initial cost has to go up, because in the engineering world, to reduce cost, reduce components, and simplify assembly has to go up if ultimately we want to make it easier on the end user to fix. So, all right? Because again, if common sense were common, I wouldn't have anything to say. So I guess I have to. Thank you.